Uh, in this video, I'm going to be demonstrating how someone would use an inducement to make an entry in case in a market. Now, this will depend how you do your analysis and how you observe the chart. Now, last time I talked about inducements, how you identify them, how you can identify a valid high and a valid low. Now, if you're trending, let's say you're bullish in this way, let's say you're like that, you're trending and you're bullish. Now, most times if the market takes out an inducement, it tends to look for the order block with a fair value gap, of which a fair value gap in this case can be referred to as an imbalance. Now, that order block having an imbalance would be enough to give the market the enough momentum to continue its direction. Now, an illustration would be like this. If you look at this, now let's say the market was trending bullish. Last time we said that the recent break of structure is the one that gives us an inducement. That means that that high is very valid. Now, if that high was able to take out an inducement, mark it as a very valid high. At the same time, it means that that high is strong enough. Now, when that high is taken out again, that means that's a valid break of structure, because this is what we call taking out of liquidity. When liquidity is taken out by the market, that means that there is enough. The money that was resting at any given point has already been taken. So out of that, we consider that a valid break of structure. Now, let's say the market again trends bearish. Bearish means it is moving downwards, right? Now, if it is trending bearish, the market has to first take out an inducement. As we say that inducement is the recent break of structure. Now, in this case, this would be the recent break of structure. Now, the order block is positioned at the lowest point where the market started from, with, let's say, with great momentum. Now, that area has to be with an imbalance as a requirement, and it is a 3-candle pattern. Now, if you look at this, the market will be trending bearish up to this point. Now, things that will propel this market to continue its direction. Now, let's say here we're bullish. That means that the market to continue bullish, it has to first trend down. We use mostly the Fibonacci level or the Fib tool, like to measure the 50%. Now, the market sometimes does not react completely from the order block, but it looks for the 50%, and then after having the necessary confirmations, that's when now you can make an entry. Now, it is not guaranteed that every order block works, only after having confirmations, of which those will be in the next video. Now, but the main important thing is how to identify a valid high and a valid low, because if you can identify them, that means that you can identify a valid break of structure and an invalid break of structure. Now, that high that was previously strong, once it is broken, that means that's a valid break of structure. Now, this is not only to when the market is trending upwards. Sometimes, even if the market is bearish, it is still the same. Let's say, give this scenario. Let's say I'm having this. The market comes like this, comes like this. It's trending downwards like this, like this. It continues, then it comes like that. Now, if you look at this, the market is moving downwards. That means that it's forming, let's say, lower low and lower high. Now, if you look at this, let's say we're continuing from here. Let's say this part was still continuing. It's like that. Now, if you look at this, there is no break of structure here until this point. I'm saying that the recent break of structure was this. I'm saying that the market came back and took out the inducement. I'm saying that after taking out the inducement, that means that this is a valid low. I'm saying that. So that means that since it is a valid low, I expect this low to be very strong. I'm saying that. But since it was still broken, that means that this is a valid break of structure, of which most times we use BOS, meaning that it is a break of structure. But this is a very valid break of structure because the market first took out the inducement, then afterwards continued its direction. Now, let's check. If you look at this, there was this this break of structure here. For now, I'm considering it to be minor because I'm still analyzing. Now, there is also this break of structure. Now, if you look at this break of structure here, is not valid. This is an invalid break of structure, simply because the market did not take out anything like an inducement. You're saying that? So it is an invalid break of structure. Look at this. This is also invalid simply because the market did not take out an inducement. Now, if you look at this, let me say the market continues in that direction. Now, if you look at this, the market took out this inducement. You're saying that? So that means that if it breaks down here, this is a valid boss. I'm saying that because the market took out an inducement and then continued with its direction. That means that in case I want to target the market, maybe I want to make an entry to continue with the market. That means my order block will be at the extreme point. And the requirements have to be with an imbalance, which is a fair value gap. At the same time, I have to see a 3 candle pattern, but with great momentum. So the measure of the momentum is seen through the candles. If the candles are long, giving us a very good fair value gap, it has to be visible. Sometimes some people use what we call an inversion fair value gap, but this does not guarantee that the market will respect that. So, of which these are seen at the confirmation stage, as saying that. So out of that, try to see this on an actual chart. Let's probably try to use this chart as an example. If you look at this chart, the recent break of structure was this. I saying that this was the recent break of structure, which let me mark this with black. Now, if the overall break of structure was that, so that means that the major inducement, since inducement is the most recent break of structure, that means that this is minor inducement. I say that. So that means that if the market takes out an inducement, I expect it to, let's say, resume its direction. But even if it does not resume its direction, it gets a point of reaction until it maximizes to that inducement, and then maybe it can continue or reverse. Now look at this. This was the recent break of structure, right? Of which this is an inducement for this move here. I see that. So if the market was supposed to react from around here, I say that, but for now it is not very significant. But the major inducement at this point is this one. I say that. So we look for key elements that we need in case to make an entry in the market. Now look at this. Last time when I was explaining, I say that we look for what we call a fair value gap. I say that, of which this is also an imbalance. Now, if we found this imbalance, now we look for a point where there was massive or very great momentum with a fair value gap. Now if you look at this, we have a fair value gap right there, so we consider this to be our order block. That's why when the market came here, it retraced from up and then afterwards went into that direction. Now after respecting, maximizing the inducement level, then it continued downwards. Now if you look here again, down here, now the market did not, let's see, if you look at this at this point, if you look at this, there was some retracement here, so inducement was taken out. I see that. Now there is a hidden zone within the wick here. If you look at this, there's a hidden zone of which sometimes it is a hidden order block, but you can only see this when you're referring to lower time frames in case you're on a higher time frame. So you only see that when you're referring to lower time frames. So you find that after the market took out the inducement at this level, you find that it reached this point, reacted at that point, then continued in its direction. Now look at this. Now at this point, the market did not take out any inducement. That means that the overall inducement at this point would have been this point here. Are you seeing that? Then when the market took it out, that means that at one point there was an order block, fair value gap. Are you seeing that? So you look for that along here until you find that with the fair value gap. I'm seeing one here, there's a fair value gap around here, so like that. Then I mark that order block around here. I see that. But also at this point, if you look at this, now there was a retracement here that was valid. I see that. So after the market took out that, if you look at this, there was a fair value gap here that I was following. I see that. Then you mark out that order block. I see that. After marking that, when the market comes to that point, then there are things that you should follow fast before making an entry. So you don't just enter into the market until you've seen some key features, of which I'll be explaining in the next video. Now, there is what we call the confirmation level, where the market has to cause what we call a choke, of which I'll be explaining this in the next video. Change of character before making an entry. I say that. So this enables you to prevent unnecessary losses in case maybe you're making an entry, of which it is a very key and a very important part. So see you in the next video.